Snorlax against Eduardo's lead of that Kartana and Arcanine.
Well, this is something Wolf's done in his previous rounds after winning Game 1, getting a good feel for his opponent's team. If he feels it's appropriate, the Mimikyu and Snorlax together are coming out, and he then probably just goes for a very linear kind of setup path. You have to wonder, what answers does Eduardo have to this? Of course, there's a potential for a lot of damage from this Kartana, both Bloom Dooming and getting Sacred Swords down on Snorlax, but you can't leave Mimikyu unchecked. It's not something that you can ignore, and if the Snorlax gets set up in the same fashion it has done in previous games, he could be in a fantastic position. The disguise here is going to draw so much attention if you don't want Trick Room to go up, and that's something that you can't afford to do with the potential belly drumming Snorlax. I think this plays back to what we saw in Game 1. Without the Mudsdale in play, all of Eduardo's Pokemon were pretty pacey. So he left the Mudsdale and Porygon 2 on the bench, and that's something I'm interested to see if it affects this game.
Snorlax with the Protect, Arcanine with the Extreme Speed, targeting down that Snorlax, and Kartana going immediately for the Bloom Doom. If Eduardo went for the knockout on Snorlax right off the bat, this could be a very costly play for him.
Wolf really reading his opponent in Eduardo well here, protecting Snorlax where many players would of course go for something like the Belly Drum on turn 1. But that Snorlax is such a threat to Eduardo that he's decided he wants to double target it, and a super smart protect there from Wolf to keep it safe and taking absolutely minimal damage from a Z move being used. That opens the door for Mimikyu to set up this Trick Room, and Snorlax can really get going here. Of course, he does have to worry about a potential Sacred Sword from Kartana, but Mimikyu could probably start to deal some damage of its own here.
Mimikyu could also potentially, either start doing damage of its own, maybe even psych up. We've seen it in the past from other trainers throughout this tournament. But for now, Snorlax happy to start this turn off with a Belly Drum to maximize its attack and to immediately consume that berry in a pinch to get most of its health right back. Arcanine with the Flare Blitz going to underspeed the Mimikyu in Trick Room and attack that Snorlax for a nice amount of damage, leaving it at just half of its health. And Mimikyu using a Z move of its own. It's holding a Ghostium Z Crystal, but will it be the Never-Ending Nightmare or will it be something else?
I really feel like if you're in Wolf's shoes here, you want to be completely going for damage, and Never-Ending Nightmare is the correct selection here. That Kartana is going to be the target, and that's probably the thing he wants to remove from play here. Knowing it doesn't have a Focus Sash means if he can do enough damage just like he did, then that Snorlax is safe. One of the biggest threats to his Snorlax has been taken out, and Wolf, after seeing the team selection from Edu in the first game, capitalizing on that. There is one adaptation, though, that he may or may not have been expecting.
Mudsdale taking the field for the Fallen Kartana. Mudsdale known to be a very slow Pokemon. Again, like you said, having access to close combat and using that stamina ability to just boost its defenses as it faces down these Pokemon.
The problem is with stamina is, yes, it does boost your defenses, but it doesn't boost them as quickly as something like a Belly Drum. Now, the Snorlax is already at its maximum health, maximum attack, and only half health. Mudsdale revealing close combat immediately.
Flare Blitz from that Arcanine targeting down the Mimikyu and not the Snorlax, so Mimikyu's disguise unfortunately will be busted. Mimikyu worked so hard on that costume. Hopefully, it can repair it for the next round. Taunt from the Mimikyu into the Mudsdale. Very interesting play there.
Well, I think the big thing with the taunt there is actually stopping it from protecting the following turn. It's not like it's trying to stop a setup move coming out from Mudsdale, but what he wants to know is that if his Snorlax attacks that position, he's guaranteed to deal damage. So he's either going to get the free chance to attack Mudsdale before it goes and retaliates with a close combat, he doesn't get caught short by a protect, or he basically ends up catching something on the switch-in, which is something you really don't want to do. This is another Pokemon, similar to how he played with the Togedemaru in Game 1. The Mimikyu forcing his opponent's hand a little bit, and this Arcanine coming in is going to make this even easier for Wolf.
The Intimidate from Arcanine weakening the attack of that Mudsdale and the opposing Arcanine. Snorlax with the Frustration going for the knockout on Mudsdale, and thanks to that Belly Drum and probably not a little help from that crit, is able to knock it out in one shot. Arcanine with the Flare Blitz going to crash into that Snorlax, won't deal enough damage to knock it out.
No, it really doesn't, and we see the Snorlax here in a pretty solid position. The only threats to Snorlax have been taken off the field. And that's just super smart play from Wolf, identifying at team preview alone exactly what he needs to do. I feel like there's no real reason for him not to work in a recycle just to secure this game. And knowing the last 2 Pokemon from Edu, Wolf is completely in the position he wants to be. The Tapu Koko was actually one of the Pokemon that was sacrificed in this instance for that Mudsdale to be bought. And we didn't see anything useful out of the Mudsdale there. We saw it close combat into a Protect, but Wolf read him like a book.
Tapu Fini on Wolf's side of the field taking place of that Arcanine, as Arcanine on Eduardo's side tries to knock out that Snorlax with an extreme speed. No recycle from Wolf, instead immediately going for the frustration for the knockout on Tapu Fini. Wolf knows his win condition right now, and it looks like having that Snorlax on the field may not be a part of it.
Yeah, all he needed to do was start taking knockouts, and Snorlax functioning fantastically under Trick Room. It's really, really important to see that come into play. You know, it's so easy. The Trick Room obviously has ended now, but of course Snorlax is still bulky enough to stick around, so many knockouts for Snorlax. It does finally faint, and we see Tapu Fini is actually the Pokemon remaining to face off against Arcanine for this turn.
Scald into that Arcanine. Will it be enough to knock it out, or will this game go for one more turn? Thanks to the choice specs, it is, and that Arcanine is knocked out, and Wolf locks in his spot to the top cut.